I'm really excited about today's topic because I'm really hungry, right? And I'm getting ready to go to lunch, but not just any lunch. I am getting ready to go to one of my famous CEO lunches. Yes, I would encourage you to get in the habit of doing things that affirm your CEO identity. Hey, Courtney Sanders here. Welcome back to my podcast. Yes, this is a podcast episode. If you are listening on iTunes and Spotify, you can come on over to my YouTube channel, see my crazy expressions, and also my new haircut, which I'm personally obsessed with. I really love it. Shout out to Haya and Dallas, who gave me an amazing curly cut. But if you are watching this on YouTube, remember that you can also subscribe on iTunes or Spotify if ever you are out running or running errands or washing the dishes and you just want to listen. But with that, I'm really excited about today's topic because I'm really hungry, right? And I'm getting ready to go to lunch, but not just any lunch. I am getting ready to go to one of my famous CEO lunches. Yes, if you've been around my podcast or my YouTube channel or even my Instagram for any amount of time, you know your girl loves an extravagant lunch, okay? So I have this ritual that I've been doing for almost 2 years now where at least once a week, typically it's at the end of the week, I try to make it a Friday, though I will sneak it in basically any day if I'm looking at my schedule or I'm traveling and I'm not gonna be able to get it in because it's so important to me. But I try to have what I call a CEO lunch. And so a CEO lunch is a lunch that is just for me. My husband has been known to crash, but typically it's just for me. I'm not taking any meetings. I'm not doing any calls. And I'm really not doing any work because I'm working on the business, right? This is like my hour, 2 hours to, carve out time for myself. I'm turning off Slack, so I'm not getting pinged by my team or anything. And I can just focus and reflect on the week prior, right? What is the week that just happened? And what do I want to think about that? What do I want to do based on that? And then think about the week that is coming ahead. So that's what a CEO lunch is. Like I said, I'm hungry. I've been recording YouTube videos all day. And so I'm really excited because this afternoon, after I'm done here with these YouTube videos that I have been batch recording, shout out to my video that you can also check out about how I batch create my content. When I'm done with that, I am going to go have one of my CEO lunches. And so I was so inspired in the moment. I said, well, I never really explained what I do on a CEO lunch and how you can come up with your own, even if you're not a CEO yet, right? Maybe you are building your business on the side and you kind of think of yourself as a side hustler. I would encourage you to get in the habit of doing things that affirm your CEO identity, but I'm actually getting ahead of myself. So with that, let's take a look inside of my CEO lunches. All right, so the first thing you want to keep in mind with a CEO lunch and why I find them so beneficial for me is because first and foremost, a CEO lunch is a little space that I can carve out during the week to reaffirm my CEO identity. Yes, so important. I'm really big on reaffirming your identity. In fact, I talk about this in my methodology that I encourage you to check out, my coaching methodology. You can check that out. We'll link it on the video or in the description box. But that's actually a video that is pulled from my coaching certification program where I show you what my coaching methodology is because we help you craft your own coaching methodology once you get certified through our accredited coaching program. But in that video where I'm explaining my methodology, I talk about how identity shifting is so important. And the reason it's so important is because so many of us fail at our goals. And I'm very sensitive to this right now because I'm recording this video at the end of the year. And so I already know everybody's getting geared up to do their New Year's resolutions and, all these things that they want to achieve. Most people think that their issue is a lack of discipline, and that is part of it. But really the issue is identity, and they lack the identity of the type of person for whom the activities that they're trying to engage in is normal and natural, right? And so you first have to adopt that identity and then pursue the behavior, because if you try to pursue the behavior out of an identity that you don't have, then you're gonna run into issues, right? So it's a lot easier for me to, run every single day. Let's say one of your goals for the New Year's is to run X amount of miles a week or to work out every day or whatever. If I assume the identity of an athlete, of a marathon runner, then it's not that hard for me to get out and run. I mean, it's physically still taxing on my body, but psychologically, I don't have all of this internal resistance. Oh, I don't want to do this. I just want to sit on the couch, because in my mind, my identity is that of a marathon runner. This is what I do. I'm an athlete. This is what I do. And so the CEO lunch is important for me because it reaffirms my identity as a CEO, which is really important for me at this juncture in my business, because becoming a CEO is actually something I've transitioned into, right? In fact, this is my CEO series episode on my podcast. I do this series of episodes monthly where I really talk about the journey and share the behind the scenes of what it looks like to become the CEO of a company, right? I went from like a solo coach, right? Just a young woman who was just coaching people and ran her own solo business, to now I'm shifting to becoming the CEO of a coaching company. And so those are two totally different roles and two totally different identities. And so it's taken me some time because there are a lot of reflexes that I have with both how I run my business, how I manage my time, where I want to do things the way that old Courtney would have done them, right? I want to do things the way, solo coach Courtney would do them, right? A lot of it has to do with just wanting to do things myself because I, spent years running my business myself. Maybe I had an assistant here or there, but I was the main driver of everything. And so my reflex is to like do it myself. But as a CEO, even if I think that I could get it done faster by doing it myself, I have to have the discipline and the internal like remembrance and habits, which comes from identity, to say, no, I'm not going to do it that way because long term, that's going to cause bottlenecks in my business. And I need to establish systems and practices and habits that the people that I have placed around me to support me in my business, that they get used to doing these things that need to be done. So that's just one example, but it's so important that you have a CEO lunch because you need to reaffirm whatever identity you are stepping into in your business. And I have done this from the very beginning, and that's why I recommend that you do it as well. So even if you don't see yourself as a CEO yet, but you are trying to become a full-time entrepreneur, go ahead and have yourself a full-time entrepreneur lunch or whatever it is that you want to do, right? If you're a side hustler and you want to be a solo entrepreneur, have a solo entrepreneur lunch. Like whatever the identity is, craft your lunch around that and make sure that you are structuring in such a way that it reaffirms that identity. So how can you structure a lunch in a way that reaffirms your identity? Well, ask yourself, to you, right? In your mind, what does that kind of person, CEO, solo entrepreneur, full-time entrepreneur, whatever identity you're stepping into, what type of lunch places would that person go to, right? Is it lunch or is it dinner? Like part of the reason I love to do the CEO lunch is because when I was working my full-time job in corporate America, I longed to have the freedom and flexibility to take a leisurely lunch, right? Yeah, I take an hour or two or three if the lunch is really good, but I wanted that flexibility of like, you know what? This is my show, right? Like I'm running the show here. This is my business. I create my own schedule. And if I want to go to lunch at 1:30 and stay there till 3, I don't have anybody looking over my shoulder telling me that I have to punch back in to an office. That was important to me because to me, in my mind, that's what it meant to be a CEO. Now, obviously it meant a lot of different things, but that was one of the perks or one of the characteristics that a CEO was able to have if they were running the show. And so even the restaurants that I choose now, the times that I go to lunch, like I make sure that I do it at a time of day. And I kind of just do this naturally because usually that just fits better with my schedule. I tend to take a later lunch. Sometimes it's even like 2 p.m. But, it's just this psychological thing in the back of my mind where I'm like, this is my schedule. Like, this is my business. I craft how I want to work. I craft when I want to work, where I want to work, what my time looks like. So I am choosing the time and I'm choosing the type of restaurants that I want to go to as a CEO. So for me as well, I love a good extravagant restaurant. I am a foodie. I'm a diehard foodie. I've been a foodie since I came out of the womb. And even when I was like in high school and in college, all of my like odd jobs were in restaurants for the most part. I know a lot of young women, when they're teenagers, they like to work at stores and, get discounts on shoes and all of that stuff. I tried to work retail. I tried to work at the mall when I was like 15 and 16. I always quit those jobs and I always wanted to be a hostess and then in college, later a waitress at restaurants because I just loved being around the food, but I loved being around interesting people. And I had some opportunities when I was going to school in DC. Shout out to all the Howard Bison out there. I remember when I was a student at Howard and I was working at a very high-end French restaurant in the city where a lot of senators would come, a lot of thought leaders. I met so many people. I met like Cornel West and Blair Washington and Alfre Woodard and Maxwell, the singer, his manager was like eating there, and he gave me and my best friend tickets to the concert. And like I met Isaiah Washington, like I met like crazy people there, and probably came across people that I didn't even know their names who were like very, very important, because it was a huge power broker type restaurant in the city. I don't know if it's still even in existence. I have to look it up. But that was really where my love for fine dining was cultivated. So I've always loved really good food, but I started to learn, obviously having worked there, the importance of that experience. And, I think that restaurant was a favorite for so many power brokers in Washington, because the restaurant cultivated their identity in kind of a subtle way, right? This was a place that power brokers went to. So maybe they were having their power broker lunch, and everything about the restaurant screamed that if you're a power broker in Washington, D.C., this is where you want to eat, right? The music that they played, the decor that they had, the what was served on the menu, the way the waiters greeted you, like all of that plays into it. And so I'm really a big stickler in crafting your environment and putting yourself in places where you are seen as worthy and you are giving yourself those experiences. I think for many of us, we focus almost exclusively on saving money for everything, right? And I'm a fan of saving money. I think saving money is definitely a good thing. But I think sometimes, I don't even want to call it a splurge, because it's really not that. I think sometimes we just need to value the experience as much as we value a low price, right? In some instances, it's appropriate to value a low price if we're saving on something, or the thing that we're looking for, we don't need all the bells and whistles. We just, want to get the cheapest thing. But other times, the experience, the ambiance, we need to value that, because it really shores us up and reminds us that, I'm worthy of experiences like this, right? I'm worthy of, having a white napkin being sat on my lap as I sit down, right? A good high-end restaurant, you sit down, they're gonna, pull the chair out for you and place the napkin on your lap, right? Very simple, but it just reminds you, I'm worthy of these type of experiences. And again, it all goes to reaffirming that identity. So for me, I'm always putting myself in restaurants that are affirming the next level of where I want to go. Nowadays, it's just more so I like chic restaurants that have like really cool music and really cool ambiance. Again, I love food. I love a good steak frites, right? Steak and French fries and a nice, great glass of wine. So I'm also looking for places that have really interesting glasses of wine. I've got to sample wine at a lot of different countries, right? Obviously France. I've gone to, in California, not a different country here in the US, but I've gone to Napa Valley. I had a wine experience in Croatia, sampled amazing wine in South Africa. And so again, reaffirming my identity, I like to go to a restaurant that has a very extensive, intricate wine menu, because I might try a wine from a country that I want to go to, or a country that I want to do business in. And so it's just all these little subtle things. It's like you're depositing it in the bank account of your mind so that you can leverage it and pull on it later when you need that confidence to show up as the leader, the CEO, the full-time entrepreneur, or whatever it is that you want to be. All right, so that's why a CEO lunch is important, but you might be wondering, well, like, what the heck do you do at a CEO lunch other than eat? Eat. And actually, let me pause there. Eat well, okay? So a CEO lunch should be a lunch that you have that you get whatever you want to get. And I always crack up because I order a ton of food, right? And I work very hard. I work out on my Peloton. I might skip breakfast in anticipation of the CEO lunch and then just tell myself, if I eat dinner at all, I'm just gonna have a light dinner. I'm just gonna have a salad, but we're balling out at this lunch, okay? So I'm giving myself an appetizer. I'm giving myself whatever entree I want on the menu. I am definitely getting a glass of wine and I am definitely having dessert. But it's so funny because the waiters are always like, is someone else joining you? And I'm like, no, I'm eating all this food for myself. So make sure that you get good food, whatever that is to you, right? Whatever you want to eat, just make sure you give yourself that, because again, this is you affirming your identity and not placing a restriction. Oh, I can't have this. Like, no, what is it that you want? Like, this is really a celebration too. This is a celebration of the week that just passed and the fact that you're still standing. Even if you had a crappy week, even if business went terribly, guess what? You're still in business. And there's a lot of people who wish that they could be in your position. Even if you are side hustling and you're gonna, do these lunches maybe on the weekend when you're not working, still celebrate, still indulge, because you know what? You're still building your business and you still have a future to look forward to. So yes, you do eat at a CEO lunch, but eating and indulging in some really delicious food is a part of the ceremony of the CEO lunch. But beyond eating, again, it is a time for you to reflect and to work on your business, not in your business. So with that, I will typically bring my laptop to a CEO lunch, or at minimum my iPad with a little keyboard on it, because I like to take notes about the week that just happened. And I have this whole planning system that I use to plan my week ahead. And I always shout this guy out. I've never met him in person, but he has a great YouTube channel. His name is August Bradley. Definitely check him out. If you're a nerd like me and you like all these apps like Evernote and Trello and whatever, there's an app called Notion that I use for the CEO lunch process, but generally just this like planning, visioning. I really love the app Notion, and August Bradley has really pioneered this system on how to get the most out of Notion and how to plan from a dream perspective and a goal perspective and projects and tasks. You guys know that I'm really big on that as well. I actually have a video called How to Set Goals Like a Millionaire, that I learned that process from the book Mentored by a Millionaire. I believe the author is Stephen Scott. And so August Bradley is the only person that I found who has leveraged Notion in a way that matches this kind of goal setting process that I follow. So go check out both. Go check out August Bradley's channel, tell him I sent you, and then check out this book, Mentored by a Millionaire, by Stephen K. Scott. I believe that is his name. But that's essentially what I am doing at the CEO lunch. And this is also why I like to do it at the end of the week, right? A Friday, if I can get it, I'll stand for a Thursday, but I don't want to say like it doesn't work if you do it in the middle of the week, but you have less to reflect on, obviously, if you're doing it in the middle or early on in the week. And so after I sit down and I place my order and I'm like feeling the vibe and I've got the ambiance and all of that, the first thing I'm reflecting on is, how did the week go, right? How effective was this week? And in a gut sense, right? We try to like rationalize with ourselves and like, oh, well, I didn't get this much done because this thing happened and this thing happened. But I like to just cold hard on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being the best and 1 being like, you did nothing this week. How was this week? And I just have to be honest with myself. If in my gut, I'm like, this week was a 3, or this week was a 2, I write that down, right? Or rather, I type that in my little Notion app, and I just rate the week. It was a 3. I didn't get nearly as much done as I wanted to. It was average. We got some stuff done, but not as much as I wanted to. And then I'm having the opportunity to journal to myself. And again, I like doing this digitally because I can save it and look over it over time. And you start to notice patterns so that you can change your behavior. But, I'll get to that in just a minute. But I start to journal what got in my way, right? So if you said the week was a 3 because it was average and you didn't get as much done as you wanted to, well, why, right? And there are many weeks that I have done this. So again, the CEO lunch isn't just a day of extravagance. Like, I actually get a lot out of this because I'll ask myself, well, why didn't I get as much as I wanted to get done? And I'll say, you know what? There are a lot of meetings on my calendar. And even though technically I had space in between the meetings, the way my brain works, it's difficult for me to, focus on one thing and then switch tasks and then gear up to focus on the next thing. And before you know it, I have another meeting on my calendar. So it's like I was ramping up and then, oh, wait, another meeting. And so out of a CEO lunch and that realization, I had a conversation with my executive assistant where I was like, look, if there's meetings on my calendar, I have multiple meetings a day, they need to be clumped, right? Never, if I have an 8-hour day, which I never do because I'm taking my son to school, I'm picking him up in the middle of the day, so my day is already fragmented. But if I have, 2 meetings or 3 meetings that I need to attend to, you need to be scheduling those close together, right? Meaning if I have a meeting at 1 from 1 to 1:30 and another meeting that's an hour, we'll go ahead and book it from 1:30 to 2. And then if there's another 30-minute meeting, go ahead and book it at the end of that. And that's unique to me, right? Because I know a lot of people would be like, oh, who wants to be in meetings for 3 hours? Like, why would you stack your meetings like that? But again, I know my work style. And so if you place 1 meeting in the morning and 1 meeting in the afternoon and 1 meeting, at the end of the day, my whole day is going to be a wreck because the entire time I'm going to be thinking about this meeting that's coming up, and I'm going to be reluctant to really dive into work that really requires a lot of like strategic thinking and creativity because I have this meeting looming over my head. So it's a lot better if we clump those meetings together. It's a lot better if we either put it at the beginning of the day or the end of the day, so that either way I have my whole day free, right? And it's just like, oh, I have these series of meetings at the end of the day, or I really prefer to just knock them out first thing in the morning, and then I don't even have to think about them again, and the rest of my day is clear, and I have white space on my calendar. Again, I work better that way, but I would not have known that I worked better had I not been doing my CEO lunch and had I not created space to ask myself these types of questions. So these are the types of things that you want to be asking yourself. So after I'm having this kind of heart-to-heart discussion with myself around the effectiveness of the week, what got in the way, what didn't get in the way, what was good, if it was a good week, what was bad, if it was a bad week, then I'm asking myself, what do I need to follow up on? So I'm thinking about what were the meetings that I had, or what were the projects that were started, and what are some things that I need to put on my to-do list in advance for next week to make sure that I don't forget them. So I'm looking at things or deliverables that came out of the previous week, but I'm also looking forward and I'm asking myself, what's coming up next week? What's coming up in 2 weeks? What's coming up next month that I need to start preparing for right now, right? If the holidays are coming up and I want to do a holiday promotion, well, I'm not going to work on that in the week of, right? I need to be preparing for that a few weeks in advance. So I'm also taking the time to kind of future cast and saying what's coming down the pipe and, what do I need to do now, or what do I need to put on my to-do list in advance in order to make sure those things happen. So I'm also asking myself what has come out of the work and the meetings and all the stuff that I've been doing, and then how can I arrange it such on my schedule so that when I go into next week, it's kind of taken care of for me, because I hate going into a week and I don't really know what I'm doing. I don't know what should be on my to-do list. I don't know what's priority. Like, I try to figure all that stuff out in advance so that when the week comes, I can literally open my eyes, get out of bed, my feet hit the floor, and I can hit the ground running. And so I do a lot of that planning in advance in my CEO lunch on a Friday so that Monday we're smooth sailing. And so after I've kind of deduced how did the week go and did a little journaling and then decided what needs to be on my to-do list for next week, then I zoom out a little bit and I ask myself, what is the goal for the month? This is really important because, man, you can get in the weeds, right? Each week is just meetings and your team needs this and customer service and you're getting all these emails. And you'll look up and you would have been really busy and have done a lot of stuff, but you haven't moved actually any closer towards your actual goals. And so I use this time to ask myself, what is going on for the month? Like, what is it that I'm trying to accomplish? And even if I'm on the third week of the month and I only have 1 week left, I find that this is actually really helpful because it allows me to save the month, right? I know we've had those months where you have this goal that you really want to achieve, but it gets really busy and week to week you're focusing on all this stuff. And then you look up and there's like 3 days left in the month and you're like, oh my goodness, I didn't even focus on the things that I really wanted to focus on. Well, I find that doing this activity, always reminding myself, hey, what were my goals for the month, allows me to reset. So if I had a week that was super busy and I wasn't focused on my objectives and whatever, I'm asking myself, hey, what's the goal for the month? Oh yeah, I need to focus on that. And again, it's allowing me to prioritize it, putting it on my to-do list ahead of time and saying, look, before this month is out, you need to focus on this because your goal for the end of the month is XYZ. So I start to zoom out and I look at my goals for the month. I look at my goals for the quarter and do the same thing. I look at my goals for the year, right? Doesn't matter if it's at the end of the year. There's a lot of damage that you can do if you just focus and really get it done in the time allotted, but you have to be aware of that. And so if you're not aware, like, oh my goodness, there's only a few weeks left in the year and I had all these things that I said that I wanted to do and I didn't do them, well, at least now you can strategize and say, okay, can I get some of these things done? Can I put myself in position to achieve this, quarter one of next year? Like, don't just end the year like, oh, well, another year went by and I didn't get done what I wanted to do. Take action, fight against whatever distractions kept you from achieving whatever it is that you wanted to achieve, but you can only do this if you're having the zoomed out view. And then lastly, when we talk about zoomed out views, the last thing I do is really reconnect with my why. And I think this is really important because sometimes your why will shift, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? I found that my why has expanded, the more my business has grown and the more initiatives that we have undergone. My business has always been around creating economic empowerment. That's why I got into coaching, as a business. It's a type of business where you don't need, a big lease at some warehouse or some, brick and mortar storefront, or you don't need all of this equipment. It's a lot easier for people to get into. And I just love this concept that you are your own wealth, right? Like, you don't need to look for money. You are the money. I always say that, right? Like, you are the money that you are looking for. So many of us have a wealth of knowledge and experience that other people would be willing to pay for. Other people are looking for right now, but we just don't know how to get it outside of ourselves and, put it for sale in the marketplace so that other people are well served, but that we are well served and we are economically empowered as well. So that has always been the focus of my business. But as I've, gotten into different things, particularly with this coaching certification and, me going to South Africa and building a team in South Africa, I find that my why is expanding, where now I'm like, oh man, I'm really passionate about, helping different people all around the world and helping people in South Africa and other up and coming nations, really develop their internal wealth, right? And learn how to monetize what they have and, creating all this amazing economic empowerment. I'm just like, oh my goodness, like the why is bigger. And so I find that reconnecting with that why is important, not just from a internal motivation, but one, for motivating my team, right? Because again, this is a CEO lunch, which means I'm a CEO, which means I'm responsible for leading people in my organization now who support me in this business and support my clients. I have to keep them motivated, and I can't keep them motivated if I don't have a clear why for why we are doing this. But also getting clear on your why is really important for you to connect with your own clients and your audience and people who want to become clients, right? I think if you probably listen to my podcast or you watch my YouTube videos, one thing that's a little different is I don't just teach a how-to of like, oh, this is how you do this, or this is how whatever. I'm always sharing my perspective. I'm always pulling in interesting nuggets that I read from somewhere, or, I'm connecting it to like a broader thing in the world. I'm always getting to the root of something and really trying to connect with the deeper purpose and the deeper meaning of what all of this is about. The reason that I'm able to do that on a consistent basis is because I'm clear on that myself, right? I'm always connected to my why, and my why can't help but come up in videos like this, which then makes it more interesting for people who are like, you know what? I really want to work with her. And so when you are connected to your why, it'll come up like that in your content, and it will help you really stand out. So with that, as I mentioned, after I've done all of that, the last thing I do is I celebrate with dessert, right? I celebrate that another week has gone by. I celebrate that, God willing, I have another week ahead. And I just celebrate all the progress I made, even if I feel like I didn't make progress and it wasn't a good week, just by me taking the time to really think through what is it that I want to achieve going forward. That in and of itself is progress. So I never skip out on dessert. I always give myself dessert. Typically, again, I'm celebrating with a glass of wine, or I love a little Prosecco or a little champagne, and I close out my CEO lunch, and then I get back to work. All right, thanks so much for listening to this podcast. If this inspired you and you want to be the CEO of your own business, particularly your own coaching business, I invite you to sign up for my CLS Coaching Certification Program, where we will not only certify you as an accredited coach, but we will show you how to come up with your own coaching methodology, how to build your own coaching packages, and if you so choose, we even have an option where I will give you my marketing strategies on how you can build a coaching business from scratch to become the next big name in your industry. So if that sounds of interest to you, go ahead and click the link below to learn more and apply. And if accepted, you'll be invited to a call with my enrollment coordinators who will walk you through the entire process. But with that, thanks so much for listening/watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.